Hey guys, and welcome back to Home Drive-In. Yes, today we finally get to that monster movie that we all know and love. You know the one I mean. You know the one with the police officer that investigates body parts turning up near water, only to discover a huge marine animal is on the rampage, but no one believes him and there's a corrupt mayor involved, but when he teams up with a scientist and a hunter, only for the hunter to get killed and then he's forced to deal with the animal himself? Let us pause to talk about Alligator. Alligator was released in 1980 and begins when young Marissa receives a pet baby alligator that is flushed down the toilet by her less than impressed father. Fast forward 12 years into the future and we meet David Madison, a homicide detective who investigates the discovery of several body parts turning up in the local sewage system. Could the two occurrences be linked? Madison soon finds himself teaming up with the now adult Marissa, a herpetologist, who discovers
an abnormally large alligator
has taken refuge beneath the streets and is feasting on the locals. When the creature breaks out and menaces the streets of Chicago, it becomes a race against time to stop the beast before more carnage ensues. Loosely based on a story by Frank Ray Pirelli, the original idea for the film was based in Milwaukee, with an alligator growing to massive size due to drinking discarded beer suds from a local brewery. However, screenwriter John Sayles was tasked with rewriting the story, largely on the insistence of director Teague, who set the story in Chicago, writing an amusing script that's also self-aware and socially conscious. Sayles based the story on the popular myth of albino alligators ending up in New York City's sewers, since baby alligators would often be sold as pets and reportedly flushed down the toilet when they grew too large. John Sayles also wrote Teague's previous film, The Lady in Red, as well as Joe Dante's film Piranha, which, like Alligator, also pays a tongue-in-cheek homage to Jaws. Teague had at this stage never made a horror film and yet was delighted at the chance to do so, drawing inspirations from horror films such as Wait Until Dark and, of course, the aforementioned Jaws. Teague would also consult Jaws editor Verna Fields, who gave him some guidance, admitting some of the scare scenes in Jaws also took inspiration from Wait Until Dark. Actor Robert Forster met Teague on the set of the film Avalanche, where Teague was working as a second-unit director. Forster heard of his aspirations to be a filmmaker and insisted that he contact him when his goal came true. Teague took him to his word and cast Forster in the lead role of Detective Madison. Forster, who was recovering from spinal meningitis when filming began, had been cast in lead roles before, including the film Medium Cool and the television series Banyan, yet he was also known for supporting roles, including The Black Hole 1 year earlier. Alligator was also the first feature film for actress Robin Riker, who was cast as herpetologist Marissa Kendall, having come from a very early stage career and had appeared in a few TV shows, including an episode of MASH. Actor and playwright Michael V. Gazzo, who was nominated for an Oscar for his role in The Godfather Part 2, plays Police Chief Clark, while screen legend Dean Jagger plays Slade, the pharmaceutical mogul who may have a little something to do with the mutated titular creature. The film also features appearances by Jack Carter as the obligatory corrupt mayor, Sidney Lassick, who is recognisable for his role in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and Henry Silva, who, best known for his villainous roles, was cast as game hunter Brock. Alligator was filmed over a 25-day period on a budget of $1.75 million in and around the Los Angeles area, including Pasadena, but notably the LA River, where a number of movies have been filmed, including Grease, Terminator 2, and the 50s big bug film, Them. Due to the limited time and budget, director Teague, who, like writer John Sayles, was mentored by Roger Corman and learned to shoot his films fast with as few takes as necessary to keep the momentum going. He was receptive to ideas and collaborated with many of the cast and crew, including Robert Forster, who at the time was receiving hair transplants and came up with a recurring gag about his receding hairline.
I know just what you're going through.
What are you looking at?
The patch on the back, the thinning of the front, you know what I mean? Same thing, same thing.
You let your hair grow down and whip across. Nobody will be able to see it.
Or you could just embrace your baldness like I do. The name Ramon given to the alligator at the start of the film also prompted Robert Forster to ask the art department to include some of his good friend Ramon Santiago's artwork in the film, who did oblige and placed several of his works in Madison's apartment. The titular alligator was realised using a number of different techniques to create the illusion of a 36-foot-long beast roaming the city. Since alligators maintain the same proportions throughout their lifespan, shots where the alligator can be seen walking were achieved using a real baby alligator, about 12 inches long, walking through miniature sets. The footage would be shot at high speed to slow the action down, which gave the illusion of something much larger. Meanwhile, a full-size alligator was constructed using metallic framework with a thick rubber skin, working like a giant costume and requiring 2 guys to operate. Yet the resulting prop didn't have a great deal of mobility and was used quite sparingly. Now, can we think of another giant monster movie where its mechanical star also didn't work properly, only to end up benefiting the final film? You are really trying to sneak your way into this retrospective, aren't you? Yes, I know Alligator ripped you off, but go away, you will get your turn. Another prop was constructed consisting of just an alligator head that was placed on wheels, typically for over-the-shoulder shots where it can be seen chasing people. It also featured jaws that would open and close to feast on the expendable cast. The full-size alligator prop would go on to be donated to the Florida Gators basketball team at the University of Florida to serve as their mascot.
Like I said, when we're done with the subjects, they're taken back to the pound for cremation. It's all very carefully regulated by the Humane Society.
I see your test animals are very quiet.
We cut the larynx when they first come in. It helps keep the noise level down.
That it does.
The script was written to include quite a bit of subtext, with animal rights issues being front and centre, which is fitting considering that PETA had been founded the same year. For instance, the alligator is mutated due to feeding on the carcasses of discarded laboratory animals infected with growth hormones, due to the less than humane dealings of a dodgy pharmaceutical company. The film also tackles some commentary on socio-economic class issues, considering the alligator originally breaks out in an underprivileged neighbourhood, yet it's only when it crashes a high-class wedding reception that the creature is promptly dealt with. Yet the story resolves itself with a sense of poetic justice, since the aforementioned party is in fact hosted by the pharmaceutical company that created the giant monster in the first place. Take that, Big Pharma. The scene where the SWAT team is trying to flush the alligator out of the sewer was filmed around the time of the Iranian hostage crisis. 4 extras dressed in SWAT outfits were arrested under suspicion of being terrorists. They were of course released when it was confirmed what the real story was. We're just making a movie, guys. With Alligator being a self-aware spoof of more traditional monster movies, the filmmakers managed to work in a number of film references that die-hard moviegoers will no doubt get a chuckle out of. In the film's prologue, when Marissa's baby alligator is flushed down the toilet, the radio can be heard reporting on the riots of the National Democratic Convention, in which the film Medium Cool, starring Robert Forster, was based on. Also at the beginning of the film, where Madison is at the water treatment plant, a victim is identified as Edward Norton, which is a nod to the character of Ed Norton from the TV show The Honeymooners, who worked in a sewer. Graffiti on the sewer wall in the final scene reads "Harry Lime Lives," which is a reference to the Orson Welles character Harry Lime that features in the movie The Third Man. Also, when Madison visits Marissa Kendall's house, he helps himself to coffee at the breakfast table.
Can I give you a cup of coffee?
I got some.
You really make yourself at home, don't you?
Much in the same way Richard Dreyfuss's character Hooper helps himself to a plate of food when visiting the Brody house.
Is anyone eating this?
I would be remiss if I didn't mention the involvement of a certain Breaking Bad actor who cut his teeth in Hollywood by working as a PA on this film. Actor Bryan Cranston was responsible for mixing and filling the alligator model full of blood and guts for his explosive finale, and during which he met a number of stars, including Robert Forster, who took a keen interest in Cranston's involvement in the film. Ultimately, Forster and Cranston would be reunited in an episode of Breaking Bad many years later. Musical composer James Horner was approached to do the score for Alligator, yet due to a strike was unable to do so, and therefore some of the scores were composed by musician Craig Huxley. Interestingly, Huxley would go on to patent a device known as the blaster beam, which was an aluminium tube that when combined with other instruments created a very distinct tone. The device has been used for many soundtracks and sound effects, including for Star Trek, yet more recently for 10 Cloverfield Lane, as well as creating the sound for the seismic charges for Star Wars Episode II: Attack of the Clones. I love that sound. You can certainly hear elements of this device being used in the score for Alligator, which suits the gritty tone of the film very well. The film, however, also uses one of Jerry Goldsmith's themes from the TV series The Twilight Zone that would be later also used for the 1977 film Kingdom of the Spiders.
I guess this music just screams nature on the rampage.
It lives 50 feet beneath the streets. It's 36 feet long. It weighs over 2,000 pounds. And it's about to break out.
Alligator was released theatrically in 1980, yet not before the ABC had already purchased a couple of airings for $3 million, already making double its budget back following some very positive test screenings. The film was met with almost unanimously positive reviews, complimenting the amusing script by Sayles and the film's overt self-awareness. Critic Vincent Canby even lauded Alligator as one of his favourite movies, with footage from the film being played as part of a montage to honour him at his funeral in 2000. Roger Ebert, however, was less than impressed, pointing out its admittedly cheap-looking effects and indicating, and I quote, "Why not try flushing this movie down the toilet to see if it grows into something big and fearsome?" Ooh, ouch. A tabletop game based loosely on the film was also released in 1980, and while it is a far more family-friendly affair than the actual movie, does make use of the original poster artwork to tie the game in with the film. Alligator was released on VHS here in Australia, originally by Roadshow. Yet in 2003 there was a DVD release of the film in the UK by Anchor Bay with its sequel, Alligator 2: The Mutation, while in the US the film was released on DVD by Lionsgate in 2007. Both editions feature a commentary by Teague and Robert Forster. The film was released on 4K and Blu-ray by Shout Factory, containing the commentary and new interviews with many of the cast and crew, including a very special interview with Bryan Cranston discussing his involvement in the film. This release also includes the version originally shown on network television, containing some additional scenes, yet removing much of the violence and overdubbing the bad language, which regrettably becomes so painfully obvious after a while.
Oh, what the heck?
The TV version is interesting to watch for the additional content, yet personally, I'll stick with the theatrical version. Robert Forster would continue his career, appearing in many films and TV shows, including Jackie Brown, for which he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor, and the aforementioned Breaking Bad, for which he won a Saturn Award for Best Guest Starring Role. Robert Forster sadly passed away in 2019 from a brain tumour. He was 78 years old. Robin Riker would go on to appear in several films and TV shows, yet was notable for her role as Sharon Potter in the comedy series Get a Life, yet also featured in daytime soaps including The Bold and the Beautiful. And for us gamers, Riker would also provide the motion capture and voice for the character of Lilith in the video game Devil May Cry. Michael Gazzo appeared in a few films following Alligator before passing away from a stroke in 1995, while Dean Jagger would go on to guest star in a couple of TV shows before his death in 1991 from heart disease. Screenwriter Sayles was approached by Steven Spielberg to write the screenplay for his story Watch the Skies, which later became Night Skies, about hostile aliens that would invade a family farm. The script remains unproduced, however it did become the inspiration for another of other Spielberg projects, including Poltergeist, Gremlins, and most notably E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Sayles would continue his career and be nominated for an Academy Award for his original screenplays for the films Passion Fish and Lone Star. Teague went on to direct the two Stephen King adaptations of Cujo and Cat's Eye, while moving on to larger productions including Navy SEALs and the Romancing the Stone sequel, Jewel in the Nile.
You're looking at the one who saw it. And it was big.
Alligators in the sewers?
Alligator has earned its status among horror fans as a cheap but enjoyable knockoff that knew not to take itself seriously, but still provides some relevant subtext, largely thanks to John Sayles' clever writing. Following Jaws, there seemed to be no shortage of filmmakers attempting to replicate its success, but where many failed, Alligator succeeded, being a rare treat that knows exactly what it is, balancing horror and humour with ease. Thanks a bunch for watching this video, guys. I love bringing these retrospectives to you, and I will be back next month with another one and something in between in the next couple of weeks. In the meantime, be good to yourselves and each other. Take care.